over the state of the economy. As we sit here, unemployment is at a almost 20-year low, and there are other indicia. But there's a lot of commentary by very sophisticated academics, market observers, columnists, that we are running up debt, consumer debt, credit card debt, auto loan debt, student debt at an amazing pace. Defaults are occurring in those markets. Now that's what we saw in 2008 with mortgages. But the important thing is not just that there are defaults, but all of that indebtedness has built around it the same financial architecture that surrounded mortgages in 2008. Asset-backed securities, collateralized debt obligations, credit default swaps, and naked credit default swaps. When the next crisis hits, it'll be a surprise to the regulators. Somebody will come to their door, as AIG did, and say, hey, I need a bailout. Now remember, the bailout was paid by the US taxpayer to the tune of trillions of dollars. And the bailout was thought to be, well, we know this is not a popular thing to do, to bail out these big banks who are stronger than ever. But if we don't do this, there's going to be a systemic break in the economy, and we will have the second Great Depression.
There have not been so many trouble signs for the global economy in a very long time. Analysts are sounding the alarm about junk bond defaults. The smart money is getting out of stocks at an astounding rate. Mortgage rates are absolutely skyrocketing, and Europe is already facing a full-blown financial meltdown. Of course, expectations that another global economic collapse will happen among the general population are probably at an all-time low right now. But the reality of the matter is that we are probably closer to a new one erupting than at any point since the last one in 2008. Since the last financial crisis, our long-term debt problems have just continued to grow. And there are many that believe that the next crisis will actually be far worse than what we experienced 10 years ago. So, how bad are things at this moment? The following are 10 indications that the next major global economic collapse could be just around the corner. Number 1. The smart money is getting out of stocks at a rate that we haven't seen since just before the financial crisis of 2008. Number 2. Moody's is warning that a particularly large wave of junk bond defaults is coming. And as I have written about so many times before, junk bonds are often an early warning indicator for a major financial crisis. Number 3. According to the FDIC, a closely watched category known as assets of problem banks more than tripled during the first quarter of 2018. What that means is that some really big banks are now officially in problem territory. Number 4. US Treasury bonds are having the worst start to a year since the Great Depression. Number 5. Mortgage interest rates just hit a 7-year high, as they have been rising at the fastest pace in nearly 50 years. This is going to be absolutely crippling for the real estate and housing industries. Number 6. Retail industry debt defaults have hit a record high in 2018. Number 7. We are on pace for the worst year for retail store closings ever. Number 8. The two largest economies on the entire globe are on the verge of starting an international trade war. Number 9. The 9th largest economy in the world, Italy, is in the midst of yet another financial meltdown. In fact, this one appears to be the worst yet, and there are fears that it could spread to other areas of the Eurozone. Number 10. Italian banking stocks crashed really hard last month. Here are 2 more signs that the next economic collapse is imminent. Italian 2-year bond yields are the highest that they've been since the crisis of 2014. German banking giant Deutsche Bank just announced that it will be cutting another 7,000 jobs as it seeks to turn the page on years of losses. Those of you that have followed my work for a long time know that I have published videos extensively about Deutsche Bank, and it really is amazing that it has survived for this long. If Deutsche Bank fails in 2018, it will essentially be a Lehman Brothers moment for the entire planet. The mainstream media in the United States almost entirely ignores Europe, but I believe that what is going on over there is the key right now. Italy is a financial basket case, and Europe isn't going to be able to handle a complete and total Italian financial collapse. If you will remember, Europe could barely handle what happened in Greece, and the Italian economy is many times the size of Greece. And once things start unraveling over in Europe, we will be deeply affected in the United States as well. The global financial system is more interconnected than ever before, and at this point we are even more vulnerable than we were just prior to the crisis of 2008. When this thing breaks loose, it won't matter who is in the White House, who is in Congress, or who is running the Federal Reserve. When this bubble bursts, there is nothing that anyone will be able to do to stop it.
Trade wars have led to real wars. That was my point this morning. Trade wars never work, and it always leads to real war.
We can talk about how Trump's tariffs have had already had an effect on the U.S., and it's not a particularly good one.
I am growing more worried that we're going to go down the rabbit hole here, and that the pain and economic pain and suffering is going to be much greater than I had thought.
A trade war would cause foreign investors to stop buying U.S. debt instruments and could end the dollar's world reserve currency status. This would cause a major economic crisis.
Who will buy those trillions of US treasuries? This is a crisis that will define the nation, the world, and determine the course of the world for at least the next century, if not further. As always, make of this what you will.